views expressed on this program are those of the host, guest, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Moms, are you raising your kids to believe they can create the life of their dreams? Are you living your life that way as well? Living an awakened life means more than just talking about it. Join host Debbie Pokornik on Vibrant, Powerful Moms as she shares practical tips, stories, and interviews with enlightened guests, all geared at helping you create and live an extraordinary life. It's time to stand firmly in your power and model the life you want for your kids to inherit. And it all begins now on Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Vibrant Powerful Mom Show. I'm your host, Debbie Pokornik, and my mission is to help you create a life you love at work, at home, and at play. Today is my first show of 2020. What comes to mind when you hear the word 2020? I'm guessing that many of us think of vision and the fact that 2020 equals perfect vision. So what is your perfect vision for this upcoming year? It's definitely something worth contemplating. So today, my good friend Elizabeth Locey has agreed to join us and shed some light on a few of the key messages that come with this incredible year. Now, how does she get this insider information? Well, besides being an oracle and PhD, Elizabeth Locey is an author, teacher, way shower, crystal adept, trained priestess, and Akashic Records channel. I've had the pleasure of being present while she's channeling from the records, and I have to tell you that the energy that comes through is enough to knock your socks off, never mind the content that she shares. Elizabeth helps people to see who they truly are at the divine essence level and then brings that into breathtaking material form. At her core, Elizabeth stands for truth, freedom, justice, equality, as well as an end to oppression of all kinds. In a word, my friend Elizabeth is all about love. Beautiful Elizabeth, welcome to the Vibrant, Powerful Mom Show.
Wow, Debbie, thank you so much for having me. My heart is overflowing with joy, and it's such an honor to be here for your first show of the year. First of all, that it's really amazing. So
I can't think of a better way to start off the year. This is so exciting. So I have heard your story of how you ended up shifting from your very academic life to that of being an oracle. And I know it's a very fascinating story. I'm wondering if you could maybe start us out here by just giving us an abridged version of it.
Sure. Yeah, and it is I tend to be verbose, so I will do my very best. Crank it down and distill it into the smallest essential particles. And if people want to read more about it, I have a blog that I wrote just before the end of 2019 that I can make reference to and share the link of, so you can get a little more detail. But when all of the shift went down, I was chair of my department. I was a tenured professor of French and Women's Studies, and this was my first child that I was having, and just almost to the day, her 14th birthday is January 10th, so almost to the day from now, 14 years. But when she was born I was just almost at the end of my second trimester. So really, really, really early. And it was a big transformation, a needed transformation. I needed to be able to have my heart cracked wide open. And she needed, in retrospect, she needed to have the opportunity to decide she did not want to be incarnate. And so she came in a pretty tenuous way. We both ended up almost dying several times, and it was a whole blood pressure thing going on. I had preeclampsia and HELP syndrome. HELP stands for hemolysis, so blood splitting apart, elevated liver, and low platelets. So I had no clotting ability. My blood was splitting apart, liver, kidney shutting down. And when I got to the hospital, the doctor came in and said, okay, so you have this HELP syndrome, which means that because the mother is the best incubator, we like to keep the baby in the mommy as long as possible. And then he left, and the nurse turned to me and said, just so you know, that means as long as possible means until you're both on the brink of death, and then we swoop in, grab the baby, and hope you both make it, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
As long as possible. And I'm really grateful to her for like laying it on the line for me. Like, yeah, this isn't going to be an easy journey. Already it was incredibly painful because my brain had been swelling and really fast. And that's kind of a panicky thing when, your brain keeps getting bigger and your skull keeps seemingly getting smaller. So, yeah, but here we are, we both made it. And, as my brain was swelling, I had this sort of disembodied voice. I was watching myself from the ceiling in labor and delivery, and when I first went into the hospital, and this voice said, it would be just super easy, and Charlotte is going to be fine. You don't need to make your decision based on her because she's a survivor. She'll make it. No problem. You need to decide, are you going to stay or are you going to go? It would be very easy, not brusque or painful or anything, to kind of step off this sort of train of life that you're on. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I get that. And I'm really curious to see her face. And so I said, I think I'll stay. And of course, in that moment, I had been rushing towards death really fast. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, everything turned around. And so I was sticking around for a while. Do you want me to talk about part 2, which is the death dream?
No, I think we'll let people read about that on your blog because it's fascinating, but I really want to get into what's coming up for the year ahead.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. However, I do want people to understand that when you said yes, it kind of was a deal package, right?
Yeah. And, people, when I went in that day, the nurses were all getting ready to deliver a baby. Mm-hmm. And even though she probably wouldn't have survived, but they were getting ready to deliver a baby. But what was born that evening was me as an oracle. So, and I didn't realize it until, this is how it always happens. You don't realize it until later. There's this, in French, it's called après coup. This is after effect.
Yeah.
So the French philosophers talk about it as après coup, right? And so it's an after hit that you get the shift from looking backwards and saying, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, and we often refer to that as hindsight, and we say hindsight is 2020.
2020. Bring it back around.
Look at how that just keeps coming back and around.
It's all about the cycle, right?
Nice. So you know what? I really encourage people to go over to your blog at elizabethlocey.com, and I'll give you all that stuff after. But you can read her story there on her blog that was around, what was December 24th?
Something like that. Yes, yeah. I believe so.
Yeah, right around that time, and it shares the story a little bit more if you feel like you want to get more, because it really is a fascinating story, and it's very well written. I really enjoyed reading it, so you probably will too. So let me talk about this adventure that I'm on right now with you, Elizabeth. Okay. It's called Magic and Manifestation Through Eclipse Season. And Elizabeth is basically guiding us through the incredible portals and energies that are occurring right now as a result of the 12/12 full moon, the solstice, these eclipses that you might not even know that, but we just recently had one at the end of December, and then we're having another coming up in January. And there's all this planet activity. There's all these things. And it's amazing in itself that this is happening. It's even more amazing that Elizabeth is so tuned into it. And so for each of the sessions, she pulls at least one card for us. She does a crystal pull, which is an amazing thing, where the crystals actually talk to her and give her information about what we need to know in that session. And every time it's so informative. And it's so wonderfully aligned with what we're talking about on our adventure that I thought, wouldn't it be neat to have her come on the show and give us just a taste of what an oracle might share with us about this upcoming year? So, my friend, Elizabeth, where do you feel drawn to start? Keeping in mind that, it's a pretty short show.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's do some crystals here.
Okay.
Can you hear my crystal bowl? I have about 1,000 stones in this bowl that I'm just stirring up.
I can.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very nice.
So did you have a question beyond what are the best energies to be aware of or something for 2020?
Yeah. The question that I actually wrote down so that I had it, nice and concise and together is, what's the most important thing for us as a collective to know about 2020?
Okay. All right, here we go. I can feel a whole bunch of stones sticking to my fingers already. Those are the special ones. Like, you can't let go of us. We're coming on the ride. Wow, gosh, that's a whole lot.
Oh dear.
Difficult.
It wants to take up the whole show.
Well, I sincerely hope not. Okay, well, the first thing to know about this particular pull is that there are some multiples, and I can see at least 2 multiples already. Mm-hmm. And the biggest multiple here is Amazonite. And Amazonite is a stone of personal truth. It's also a stone that helps people to transition. General transitioning, like moves and stuff, but especially from life to the next chapter after being alive. And so there are 3 of these. So it's a stone that helps you to see your personal truth and helps you to speak it, and even to find the words to be heard by the person you're speaking your truth to, which is a pretty powerful exercise in general. And then I have double dragon's eye. Debbie, off the top of your heart, what are some qualities of dragon?
Fierce, powerful, protective, magical, beautiful, hot. I'm thinking of their fiery breath. Those are a few that come up.
Perfect. No, that's great. Thank you. And so all of those qualities are available to us. There's dragon's eye, and there are other eye stones. They're all different colors of tiger's eye. The main color of tiger's eye is yellow. Mm-hmm. I like to think of it more as lion related, but this is a red tiger's eye. Dragon's eye is red tiger's eye. So it's got that root chakra vitality and depth and security part to it. But it also, because it's a form of tiger's eye, it also has that manifestation quality. And so think about what dragon means to you, but also this sort of ancient wisdom, magic. Dragons are actually very feminine. Our patriarchal culture teaches us that they're sort of bad, or sort of really bad, but the young ones around these days have been sort of breaking that mold a little bit. And so think of this as magic and manifestation, actually. Now that I think of it. That's hilarious. That didn't come to me until it was coming out of my mouth already.
Right.
And then the next Tuesday, so we had one set of 3 and then 2 set of 2.
Okay, hold on just one second here. Okay, so first of all, the Amazonite is telling people to speak their truth? Is that what they would take from that?
Thank you for calling that out. It's not just saying like, oh, speak your truth. It's also giving you, everyone listening, it's assisting you in that.
Nice.
It does say like, hey, speaking your truth is important, but it also kind of hands you this elixir that helps you to do it.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And then
Very
so the
nice.
dragon's eye says, ooh, magic and manifestation, like, and security and vitality and the fires down below. But it also kind of gives you that. It's like, here, this makes it easier.
Nice. And it gives me this sense of there's so much you don't know, but we're here for you.
That's
yeah. And I have to say, the first word that came to me that I shared with you was fierce.
Mm-hmm.
And fierce, for my listeners, if you recall, is the word that I often will use when I'm talking about feminine energy. Because if you think of the water in a riverbed, it can be very calm and flowing, but it can also be very beautifully fierce as it's coming down a waterfall or rapids and such. So,
and
beautiful.
There's almost nothing, speaking of vibrant, powerful moms, there's almost nothing more fierce
yes.
than a mother whose young is threatened.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, there is no male warrior who can outstrip a mother who is protecting her babies. Just not anything. That
beautiful.
Is as fierce as you get.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so please continue. Yeah, me too. Angel hugs all around.
Then it's double clear fluorite. In clear fluorite, a dear friend of mine, we were working out what stones she needed to have for her 2020 altar. And so she was saying, I see clear stones, and I tossed out clear fluorite as a possibility. She's like, oh, I've never really dealt with clear fluorite. And then she came back to me later saying it has to be clear fluorite. And so we got double clear fluorite here. Fluorite is a highly protective stone, but it's really also about it's perseverance. It's about knowing you can do something. And even if all the humans around you are like, oh, yeah, you should maybe try something else. That feels like a little ambitious.
Yes.
This stone really helps you to have the self-determination of the real, it's a bootstrapping energy. Like if you know it's for you, then you can do it because it wouldn't be given to you otherwise. And so this double clear fluorite is really saying like, hey, you've got all kinds of support for your dreams. And it also helps you to bring everything into line for yourself. There's fluorite often grows in an octahedral shape. So it's like two pyramids like sealed together at the base of the pyramid. So there are lots of straight lines. And this is how it grows. It grows like that. So an ostensibly inanimate object is so self-conscious and so organized that it lines all of its molecules up so that it can have like 12 different straight line angles and points on it.
Wow.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. So clear fluorite, it's about intuition, about manifesting intuition. And especially the clear version of fluorite is about the crown chakra and really being connected to spirit and knowing that you and your higher self are working in tandem.
What a great message for 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next? Oh, there's so many fun things. All right. So remember how we had dragon's eye, double dragon's eye? Now we have an eagle's eye.
Ooh.
Yes. So eagle's eye is this particular one is slightly golden. So it has that kind of tiger's eye, lion energy to it. But also this one is mostly blue. So it's like a hawk's eye. Mm. So the blue and gold together, that's also known as eagle's eye. What are some qualities of eagle, Debbie?
Oh my gosh. Again, I see powerful. I see freedom. Like I see freedom to be you, to fly wherever you want to fly. So that's one that stands out. I don't know the right word for it, but it stands out as a quality. Again, I see powerful. I see also an incredible ability to look after yourself. So, you know, that ability to see a fish way down below and dive down and snap it out of the water. I'm not sure exactly what to call it. I want to call it precise, but I felt I needed to explain it because, yeah.
Well, it's that precision targeting of like knowing what you want and like zooming down to get it, never missing, and grabbing it out of wherever it is.
Yes. And again, perseverance is what came as you were explaining that I'm not giving up. Like I'm going to get it. Yeah. Beautiful.
And there's also that long distance vision, that higher perspective, long view. And another thing I'd like to point out with the eagle's eye is that those raptors flying up in the sky, you know, they use their wings to get up there, but they just glide afterwards. They let themselves be carried. And if they lose the current that was carrying them before, all they do is tilt. They just tilt a little bit, and then they get picked up by another, you know,
current coming along. So it's like going with the flow in the ultimate way. Like it's not. Yeah. Well, and it's not like letting others push you around. That's not what I mean. You're like you say, you're way up there.
Stream. You're finding your own wind stream.
Yeah.
And being carried aloft there.
Nice.
Yeah. This one is about having out of all the great ideas you could have, having the very best idea, discovering, like figuring out without even trying, just instantaneously through intuition, discerning which is the very best idea, and then having the manifestation power to bring it into form in the world. So it's a very auspicious stone, along with these other very auspicious stones. And our next ones are all kind of the same size. There's a chrysocolla here, and chrysocolla, whenever chrysocolla comes, it's about making sacred sounds, but it always tells me to howl like a wolf, just to throw my head back and go, oh, and that doesn't have to be loud. A lot of people are saying like, oh no, I couldn't because my neighbors. What I just did was not louder than raising my voice to somebody to call to them in the other room. Right. And we aren't like complexed about that. Like we're like, oh no, my neighbors.
Well, and plus if you have little kids, you know, get them howling howl with them. You can do whatever you want.
The kids are great at that. And they don't need it nearly as much as the adults, but they will joyfully join in.
But you can do it and you have a perfect reason to be doing it. Oh, I was playing with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not that you should need a reason, but you know, we all know that there are times when you're sensitive about what other people will think.
And yes, and howling like a wolf really allows all of the stuffed emotions. And I would submit that if you have more stuffed emotions, you're probably going to be more worried about what the neighbors think than if you don't have as many. But, you know, as humans, we all are taught to kind of like hold back and not express our feelings. Like once we get past the terrible 2s, let's say, or even past 5 years old, you know, we're not really allowed to like throw ourselves on the ground and kick and scream.
Right.
And like that just
I miss that. No,
I know, right? Wouldn't the world be a better place? Yeah. We have some politicians who do that anyway, but mostly most people are like, oh, I couldn't do that in public. But what doing that kind of thing does is allows the body to process out these feelings. And because as adults, we've had decades of stuffing our feelings, howling like a wolf allows some of that. It's this direct channel from the heart out the mouth, and you just pull off. It lifts off these layers of calcification that have really built a wall. Even if that wasn't your intention, what it does is it builds this wall around your heart. And so the reminder to howl like a wolf says, hey, you don't have to keep that. And in fact, this is kind of like a partner stone to the triple Amazonite that we saw at the very first part of the message, the most important part. The triple was the most important part.
Okay.
So they're both high heart stones, and they're both about expressing what's in the heart.
Nice.
And so these go together to say, like, that really is sort of the primary energy of this pull, is expressing what's in the heart. So if you don't take anything else away from this crystal pull, remember that you have a lot of support for releasing what has been trapped in your heart for a long time.
My goodness. And this whole Magic and Manifestations adventure that we're on has been all about releasing. So, believe it or not, we've used up all our time. I know. It's just, we've just been learning today about time not being what we think it is. But unfortunately, in my world, it still is, as far as, the spot goes that I have on the radio. So I want to tell people a couple things about you really quick. First of all, if you're interested, Elizabeth has an ebook called Earth Magic Essentials, and she tells you in there about creating a crystal bowl, a bowl full of these crystals, how you do these stone pulls and all of that. So if you're thinking, wow, this is really cool, I'd love to learn more about it, that is a really great, inexpensive way to find out. And she tells you how to create your own bowl, and it's not an expensive thing to do or anything. So you can certainly check that out. And you can also just go to her website at elizabethlocey.com. Locey is spelled LOCEY.com. Elizabeth is spelled just normal, usual. I don't like to say normal in case people think others are abnormal. But
with a Z.
What's that?
Elizabeth with a Z.
Elizabeth with a Z. Oh, yes, I should say that in there, or Zed, depending on where you're from.
Oh, yes.
And and that website will also be up on my blog, as usual, at Vibrant Powerful Mom. So you can just go there and click on it. And I'm going to put the link there to the Magic-Manifestations class that I've been talking about, because that adventure is so amazing, and you can join it at any time. So if you're listening to it in January now, you can join it and catch us while we're still going through it live. If it's after that time, that's okay, because time really isn't as relevant as we think it is. So you can always go and join it then, and you'll get to listen to the recordings, and you'll still benefit by all the pieces. So Elizabeth, we have actually gone over our time. Any really quick last little thought, like 10 seconds worth?
Yes, the other 3 stones were labradorite for magic, bloodstone for courage, and lepidolite for peace. Those are the other energies that are all in here.
I can't believe that many just had to come forward. But 2020 is a whole year, so yes, I guess that makes sense. Oh, my friend, thank you
so much.
Thank you. Pleasure. It's just so much fun having you on the show, and I love the idea of being able to tell people a little bit of stuff that might help them in the year coming up. So I appreciate you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate you, my listeners. With much respect for you and the journey you are on, this is Debbie Pokornik and her guest, Elizabeth Locey, wishing you a vibrant and powerful day.
You've been listening to Vibrant Powerful Moms with host Debbie Pokornik. If you've enjoyed this show, please share it with others to help spread the love. To find out more about Debbie, pick up free offers from the show, and listen to previous episodes, visit vibrantpowerfulmoms.com.